Hi, I'm Mike Flannelly, and in case you're going to confuse me with Judge Patrick, I'm the old white guy with the Irish sounding name. Sorry, Tom. I see no shade to that. The first judicial selection took place in Exodus with Moses, and the two characteristics were back then were capability and trustworthiness. So I'm going to stick with those two. On the capability side, I graduated from Wake Forest School of Law in 1982, worked for a judge for a year, went into private practice, represented small, first started out doing criminal, civil, domestic work. After a year, I had started to develop a specialization in civil litigation, and I've done that pretty much my whole career. I've been in the courtroom that entire time. First started out doing cases involving any kind of civil law you can imagine, mom and pop store, all the way up to representing a company in York County, suing one of the largest corporations in the world and obtaining a $500,000 reward. I've been part of a big firm. I've been part of a solo practice where I know what it's like to have people depend upon me for a family paycheck. During this period of time, I was a lecturer for the Pennsylvania Bar Institute, which is the continuing legal education arm of the Pennsylvania Bar Association. I've also authored materials and provided continuing legal education for attorneys. 7 years ago, I was asked to interview for the position of county solicitor, and I've held that position since that time. As solicitor, I represent the commissioners in their daily legal needs, as well as all of the departments of county government. So I represent Veterans Affairs, Children and Youth Services, District Attorney's Office, New York County Quick Response Team when they're sued, the Drug Task Force when they're sued, so on and so forth. Why is this important? It gives me a broad background in law, in all the issues that are facing the county government. And it's also important because as judges, you're going to be moved around in the Court of Common Pleas. As Craig noted, it's a court of general jurisdiction. You handle all sorts of types of cases, so you need to be ready to be moved when you are moved. On the getting over to the integrity side or the trustworthiness side, I'm a Christian who is active in his church. I was a youth group leader, and then after my kids were born, I was an elder for 2 terms, as well as church treasurer, and time to get moving. I will say this one important thing is that I ran 2 years ago, didn't make it. That's not the important thing. The important thing is that the Bar Association has a poll where they rate all the candidates. 2 years ago, 96% of the lawyers rated me either highly qualified or qualified. So that means that the Bar Association sees me every day, knows my reputation for honesty and integrity, finds that I am qualified to do the job. I'm a dedicated public servant, and hopefully on May 17th, I'll have another chance to serve you further. And I think that Andy here and just got it. Okay.
I have a question. Were you, over here, were you solicitor when the Core family sued the commissioners over the Limont Farm eminent domain?
Well,
did you handle that case, and if so, can you tell me you did it?
The eminent domain started back in 2004, I think in February of 2004. I became solicitor in July of 2004. Stock and Leader was the firm that was retained to handle that, and they handled that case throughout. I was the attorney who, in the next term, was handed the job of trying to clean up the mess, and that's what I did.
Mr. Flannelly, you have the opportunity to fill out the form that the other candidates should have seen that you did not. May I ask why?
Yeah, and I'll give you the exact reason why. I believe you're talking about the one form from the Action Network. Is that what you're talking about? Exactly. I do not believe that, and I've gotten litmus test questions from a variety of organizations, not just that particular organization. I believe that judges should not, people who want to be judges, should not take very particular positions on matters which are going to come in front of you in front of the court. In fact, that was the law or the ethics rule that was in place until recently when the United States Supreme Court allowed judges then to make certain comments. What's interesting about that is that you're allowed to make the comment, but it still doesn't change the fact that it's unethical, in my opinion, in order to give strict or give very specific answers to that. I'm sorry. Time's up.
So since he didn't answer that, you guys can go through the list and start asking him those questions if you want to know.
Well, I have a feeling you may know my answer, based upon that situation.
I have a question.
By the way,
Why do you want to become judge?
well,
If you're a solicitor now, why do you want to become judge?
that's a great question. Right now, as solicitor, I'm involved in basically all the aspects of county life. I get to help out. Questions come about children, youth, families, mental health, mental retardation. I'm involved in all those issues. But I'm sort of involved in those issues in kind of a secondary standpoint, meaning that I am, my wife is telling me to hold the microphone up in my face. Sorry about that. So I get involved in sort of on a second-hand issue. What attracts me about being a judge is that you can be involved directly with people, that you can have an impact on people's lives on a one-on-one basis, and as well as for the community as a whole. And that is my real motivation, is that I can be personally involved in these people's lives. Yes, sir.
One of the questions on this form, Mike, deals with approximately how many jury trials have you litigated in the past 5 years? How does that stand with regards to offering an opinion about what it is that you've done and so forth?
Fair question, and I'll answer that question. In the last 5 years, I've had the good fortune not to try a jury trial. And that's because I've gotten numerous suits thrown out against the county, either at the motion to dismiss level or the summary judgment level. So the short answer is that prior to that, I had plenty of jury trial experience, and in fact, I believe my courtroom experience is the reason why I don't have more courtroom experience lately, although I do have a trial on Monday. Yes, sir.
Is God the basis for all your decisions?
Well, God is the basis of my decisions personally, okay? Now, if I'm elected to judge, I also have some other obligations as well, which is, and anybody who gets up here and tells you this, hopefully they're going to say, is that I am take an oath to follow the Constitution, okay? So, I must follow that. Now, where does God come into play? There's plenty of times where you're sitting there, it's a custody dispute, and you have to make a decision, okay? As a great thing about Christianity or being a Christian is you can call upon the Holy Spirit to help you make those types of decisions. So yes, in that sense, yes, absolutely. Is that the final hand?
I have a question.
One quick question.
If the House recently, the State House recently passed a doctrine and it's going through, if I defend myself, my baby, my family and I have to shoot someone to do that, does that case go directly to you? Are you the first level there? And if so, how do you feel about that?
I think you're referring to the Castle Doctrine and the recent bill by Senator Coppola, I think it was, that was introduced.
Yes.
We had a discussion about this very issue at a editorial board forum at the Oak Daily Record yesterday. And I'll give you the answer I gave yesterday, which is, I think it's a good law. I think it's an appropriate expansion of the Castle Doctrine. My answer then was, I don't know that it's going to have a huge impact on the Court of Common Pleas and how we do our daily business. I don't believe it's going to come up that much, but I do believe it's an appropriate amendment.